What's up, guys? Jordan McAbee here, fantasyracingonline.com, home of the Slingshot Fantasy Auto Contest, and we're going to talk about Talladega 2 today, the YellaWood 500. You should know the drill by now with these Superspeedway races. It's all about place differential with this game. This is going to be a shorter video than normal because there's really no point in going over a ton of stats. We'll go over some stats, but at the end of the day, this is all about basically luck and game theory. In case you didn't know, we're almost through this entire season, but place differential is one of the most important scoring factors in this slingshot game, and it's even more important, or becomes even more important, at Superspeedways, at Daytona, at Talladega. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm probably not going to pick anybody starting in the top 20. I'm going to just go completely for place differential. I might not even pick anybody starting in the top 30 just because of how these races can turn out. There can be huge wrecks. We can see BJ McLeod finish top 10 like he did at Daytona. We can see, any of these shitbox cars in the back finish up front. Not to mention we have Landon Castle in this race starting dead last, who's in the 96 car. 96 car isn't bad. Justin Haley's in the 77 Spire car. Justin Allgaier's in the 77 Spire car. Justin Haley's in the 16 Colleague Racing car, which Kaz Grala has finished top 10 with at I think Daytona or maybe the first Talladega race. So ton of place differential potential here. It's all about picking the right guys and honestly just having fun. That's usually my main recommendation when it comes to this race and these races at Daytona and Talladega. Just pick who you want and have some fun with it because it really doesn't matter. There's no point in putting a ton of time into it. It's all luck and yeah. So starting lineup, we got Hamlin on the pole, Kyle Busch, Elliott, Blaney, Larson in the top 5. Outside the top 12, Reddick starting 13th, Kurt Busch 14th, Matt DiBenedetto 15th. You can go through here and see all these people. Michael McDowell, who won the Daytona 500 this year, he's starting 22nd. Chastain, who's had a couple solid finishes on Superspeedway races this year, he is starting 23rd. Chris Buescher, who's always good at these tracks. Newman as well has had very good finishes. They're starting 24th, 25th. There's plenty of great place differential plays here this week. Cole Custer, 28th. Anthony Alfredo, 30th. And then, we talked about Allgaier and Castle and Haley and even the shit boxes this week. I'd say every single person starting back here, even Cody Ware, or I hate to say it, but even David Starr could be a potential play this weekend just because if a wreck takes out half the field and they're doing their normal strategy of staying back and staying out of it, that's just going to be 2 points for every single position that they move up and that they avoid the wreck. Now, obviously, this isn't optimal. They're not going to go out there and win the race, but they are very safe picks. They can't really, Landon Castle cannot score negative points this weekend. David Starr cannot score negative points this weekend because of the place differential and because of the finishing points. Whereas someone like Denny Hamlin in this game can score significant negative points. So in my opinion, there's no reason to take these guys starting up front just because one issue, one mistake, one wreck can completely ruin your slingshot roster. So I'm all for being aggressive in fantasy NASCAR. It's one thing I've done many times over the years. But when it comes to this game, like I said, this is about game theory, and this is about playing relatively safe and going for that place differential. So let's take a look at how the other super speedway races have ended up as far as driver scoring in each of them. Looking back at Daytona, highest scoring driver, Denny Hamlin, 165. He started 25th. 17th for McDowell, 34th, 12th for Elliott, 39th, and then we had Austin Dillon, who started 4th, finished 3rd, and scored 115 points. But the 5 highest scoring drivers, none of them started better than 12th, and 3 of them started outside the top 20, 2 of them outside the top 30. Going to the first Talladega race this year, Kaz Grala started 38th, finished 6th, was the highest scoring driver in this game. Only 3.9% picked him. 152 points. McDowell started 23rd, finished 3rd, 149 points. Keselowski, obviously he won, so he's going to get a good chunk of points. Started 10th, finished 1st. Kevin Harvick started 16th, finished 4th. DiBenedetto 13th, finished 5th. Like I said, I'm personally probably not going to pick anybody in the top 20. I'm definitely not picking anybody in the top 10. I might throw in one, maybe maximum two in that 10 to 20 range, maybe. But like I said, it's you're much better off and much more likely to get the highest scoring drivers in your lineup if you're completely staying away from the top 10, top 5 for sure, and mostly staying away from the top 20. That's not to say that these drivers starting in these high positions can't score the highest amount of points. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's probably more likely, and there's much more risk involved of them scoring negative points. So why take on that risk? Why not just play the safer options and those starting in the back, and then just hoping to avoid the chaos. Daytona 2, Newman started 23rd, finished 3rd. Bubba Wallace started 20th, finished 2nd. Ryan Preece started 24th, finished 4th. Blaney started 6th, finished 1st. So Balicki started 36th, finished 10th. Justin Haley started 28th, finished 6th. Tyler Reddick, 17th to 5th. 30th to 9th for McLeod. I will note this was the race that Chris Buescher DQ'd out of, so he would have been up there as well, but he got credited with that 40th place finish. He would have been higher scoring as well if he got, I think he finished 2nd in this race, but like I said, he got DQ'd. So just for shits and giggles, we will look at some stats really quick because I did pull them up and I didn't want to waste my time doing that. Best average finish, these are specifically the Superspeedway races of this season. Best average finish, Kevin Harvick at 8.0. Jamie McMurray finished 8th, I think, in the Daytona 500, so he's there as well. Got Ryan Preece at 8.3. Austin Dillon 9.7. Chase Elliott 11.7. Bubba Wallace 13.0. Ryan Blaney 13.3. Reddick 13.3, and then it goes from there. One stat that I do kind of like to look at, typically the drivers that are running more up front are the ones that are more likely to stay out of trouble. So it's obviously not guaranteed, which we're going to see with this stat, but if we look at average running position and percent of laps in the top 15, I'm going to sort by laps in the top 15. So this is taking their number of laps completed in the top 15 divided by their total number of laps completed. If they wreck out, they have a lower number of laps completed than other drivers, as you can see with some of these on here, with like Logano and Blaney and Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson. But Kyle Busch, 94.5% of his laps ran in the top 15 over these 3 races. He has an average running position of 7.6, average finish at 22.3. So it tells you that he's got a pretty good super speedway car. He just hasn't gotten the finishes. Like I said, I'm definitely not picking Kyle Busch this week. He starts 2nd. You know, he's up here. Where's Kyle Busch? 10,800. He starts 2nd. I'm still not picking him, but would I maybe pick him as the race winner pick? Yes, because he's ran extremely well this season. He just hasn't gotten the finishes. Joey Logano's up there, 82.9%. Austin Dillon, 81.8%. Brad Keselowski, 79.12%. You'll notice that the Penske cars are very good at super speedway racing, and they typically stay up front. Another thing about this stat, though, before we continue on, is some drivers specifically and intentionally do not run up front. They drop to the back, and they try to just avoid trouble. So these numbers can be quite skewed as opposed to, you know, like races like last week at Las Vegas where average running position was a great stat to look at, or Richmond where average running position is a great stat to look at. You know, you just have to take these with a grain of salt at Daytona and Talladega and realize that these stats just really don't matter. And it's all about who gets lucky. It's what it is. I can't stress that enough. So average running position on super speedways this year, best average running position, Kyle Busch 7.6, Austin Dillon 9.9, Austin Cindric, he only made 1 start, average running position 10.4, Ryan Blaney 10.6, Christopher Bell 10.7. He's another guy you can see here that hasn't quite got the finishes. Kevin Harvick 11.1, he has gotten the finishes. Chase Elliott 11.4, Joey Logano 11.7, he hasn't gotten the finishes. Noteworthy, like, it's always fun looking at the lower guys, you know, like the lower tier drivers. And Ryan Preece really sticks out to me. Average finish of 8.3, average running position of 13.3. He's a lower driver, and he's starting. Ryan Preece is starting 27th. I think, obviously, I think he's a good pick this week. He has the numbers to back it up, and you have to really like that average running position. It tells you that he tries to get to the front and stay there. Same with his teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who tends to wreck a lot, but when he doesn't wreck, he is pretty good, especially here at Talladega. He has some really good numbers. Other guys, Bubba Wallace is typically very strong at these super speedways. Michael McDowell, this is another week to pick him. Cole Custer, who's absolutely sucked this year, has had good super speedway results. So definitely, Corey LaJoie is another like really lower guy that I would definitely recommend looking into this week, because he does run well at super speedways. This is kind of the tracks. I think from 2019 through 2020, he was the highest scoring DraftKings driver on super speedways, which again, you can't put too much weight into results, but at the same time, it's something to talk about. Otherwise, we're just sitting here and saying this guy's pretty good. It's at least something to throw out there. It's at least something to kind of look at. But as far as specifically making your picks based off of these statistics especially of average finish, I think it's just, I don't think you can do whatever you want. You'd have the same amount of luck, I believe, just picking names out of a hat and just, like I said, playing off of game theory this week with the place differential and that type of scoring. So I haven't even ran my algorithm yet. But I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not even going to pay attention to it with picks, in DFS and in the Slingshot game. I'm going to come here, I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, I probably want Landon Castle because he's the safest pick in this contest. I probably want Justin Haley because he's in a great car and he's very good at super speedway racing. Do I want Justin Allgaier? I personally don't like the guy, but starts 33rd. He's in a decent car. I like picking Anthony Alfredo at super speedway. So let's throw Anthony Alfredo on there. My boy Corey LaJoie starts 29th. Let's do that. Let's see if he can get another good finish here. And to top it all off, let's run Ryan Newman, who starts 25th. Or let's go Cole Custer here, $8,000. Cole Custer starts 28th. You'll notice that there is $12,300 salary cap remaining. That's perfectly fine this week because, like I said, place differential and luck. I would not even, again, I'm going to try to hammer this home. I would not even think about picking anybody starting in the top 5. I'd maybe consider like a Joey Logano starting 8th, but that's super, super risky. I'd maybe consider William Byron starting 10th. Again, very risky, but both of them are very good super speedway racers. They can win this race. Little too risky for me, but if I had to make a case for guys starting up near in the top 10, that's who I'd probably go with is Logano and Byron. Getting into the mid-teens, you got Austin Dillon starting 16th, DiBenedetto starting 15th. At this point, it's kind of just who you want to pick. Ross Chastain maybe starting 23rd, Chris Buescher starting 24th. At that point, it's really just differentiating your lineup and honestly pick who you want. Like pick the guys you like. Pick the paint schemes you like. Pick the guys you hate. So if they wreck. Well, that's kind of a lose-lose. So don't pick the guy. Maybe don't pick the guys you hate. But, this week I think it's all about having fun. I really do not put much time into Slingshot picks for Daytona or Talladega and just hope for the best. When you pick guys like this, when you have a lineup like this of everyone starting, 30th or worse or 28th or worse, if two of them make it through all the wrecks and finish top 15, top 10, you're going to have a pretty good points day no matter how everyone else finishes. So, yeah, pick who you want. I personally wouldn't recommend anyone in the top 9. William Byron, he's a decent – I still wouldn't. To be honest with you, I wouldn't. I'd probably go 20th or worse. People starting 20th or worse is who I'd hit. And I'm perfectly fine with even going with something like this. Going Castle, Haley, Gase, Smithley, and Quinn Half. Honestly, I would not be upset with throwing that lineup in, because you're just hoping for if wrecks happen and they make it through, you're looking at a pretty big points day. Like this is the week you can justify picking shit boxes, and you can pick multiple of them. Is it more fun to come up here and pick guys like Chris Buescher and Stenhouse and Cole Custer or Eric Jones or Michael McDowell? Absolutely. Then do that. Have fun with it. Have complete fun with it. And that's my full. We'll take a look quick at one stat that isn't awful to look at either when it comes to Talladega is DNFs. You can come here to driveraverages.com, and I'm specifically pointing out Talladega. You can also look at Daytona, but I like to sort by DNFs and then kind of just scroll here with a number of races. So like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. only has 3 DNFs in 16 starts. Eric Almirola only has 3 DNFs in 23 starts. Keselowski 4 in 25. Kevin Harvick 4 in 41. But like I said, Kevin Harvick is starting 9th. Super risky. If I'm gonna pick anybody in the top 10, pick them down here as your race winner pick. That's my recommendation. Pick them to win the race. So if they do win the race, you get those extra 50 points. If they don't, then if they wreck out, you avoided a disastrous lineup or potentially disastrous lineup, and you're not out anything if they don't win the race. So Harvick 4 out of 41, which is very great. Denny Hamlin, we all know how good he is. Again, he's on the pole. Wouldn't even think about picking him in Slingshot this week, but those are my recommendations. It's a fun week. It can be fun. It can be frustrating. It's Talladega. This is the last Superspeedway of the year, so just roll with it. And I know this video probably wasn't helpful very much at all, but yeah, there's not a lot of predicting this race. It's so unpredictable. We know who the faster cars are going to be, and we know who should run well during the race. But what we don't know is who's going to get caught up in that wreck, how many wrecks are going to happen, and when they're going to happen. And that just throws everything, all the predictability of this race out the window. So have fun with it. Good luck. And we'll be back next week for the Charlotte Roval closing out round 2 of the playoffs. See ya.